Oh, all righty. I am now calling this meeting to order. We have a quorum. A quorum consists of myself, Dave Jones, Mike Leary, and John Rice. And we also have Laura Burns and Dr. Adams attending. I have to read this thing about online meetings. This meeting is being offered remotely as an alternate means of public access pursuant to Chapter 107 of the Acts of 2022 and all other applicable laws, temporarily amending certain provisions of the open meeting law. And you are hereby advised that this meeting and all communications during this meeting may be recorded by the town of Hingham in accordance with the open meeting law. If any participant wishes to record this meeting, please notify the chair, that would be me, at the start of the meeting in accordance with Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 20F, so that the chair may inform all our participants of said recording. I don't think anyone else is going to record this thing, but that is the way it is. Okay, we're going to move around. We had a request from Laura to kind of change our order a little bit on the agenda. We would like to do the Harbor Media stuff up front, and then we'll move through it. I don't think we'll take too much time because we all kind of want to watch the hearing that's coming up. So, John Rice, do you know if John Lawler, our new?
No, he still has his class, so he won't be able to make it. I guess his class goes all week. I didn't realize. I know he couldn't make Tuesday, but he can go to the next meeting. Just so I mean, everyone knows John Lawler is someone who manages the Apple Store at Derby Street. Has a lot of experience doing that for many years, and I think one of the great contributions he can make to our, other than having good management experience and obviously a lot of experience in digital media, he's also an active community member. He is one of the movers and shakers in the Arts Walk that takes place in October. As well as the fact that at the Apple Store, he's responsible for creating like classes that they do there, and the structure and the way that they do the classes there to teach people how to either use the computers or iMovie or whatever it might be. So I think he brings a lot to the table for our committee.
Okay, so we also have for the first time Dr. Adams from the Superintendent of Schools. My question for you is, do you want to, we always have a representative from schools. It doesn't have to be you, but if you want to appoint someone, please feel free. I mean, it's up to you. But as you know, we fund a position. You probably have the agreement that we have. So just let me know, and then I can adjust accordingly. Okay.
Thank you.
Yep. And we have Bill Solomon who just joined. He's our legal counsel, and we'll get to him shortly.
Hey, Dave.
Right.
Hey, Dave.
Yeah.
I have a spotty Wi-Fi here, so I'm going to turn my video off to save it. Okay.
Okay, that's fine. Thanks.
Thank you.
All right.
Wanted you to see me though.
That's all right. We're rolling right along here. Okay, prior meeting
Laura.
minutes. Do I hear? Has anyone? I've read them. They're stellar as usual. Do I hear a motion to approve the meeting minutes? Going once.
I motion to approve it.
All right. I think, John, you have to second.
I second.
All right. All those in favor? Mike.
Aye.
John.
Aye.
And I will vote in the affirmative. We thus have approved the meeting minutes. Thank you very much. Okay, first up on the agenda, I have the open CAC Harbor Media issues. There's a document that I'll attach. The only open issue we had was way back when we were experiencing, when they put up the bulletin board, some humming that was happening, and that has since been resolved. And the quick question I had for Laura is do we have anything online where a citizen, a user can just, type in, hey, this was, or they just call you guys? I mean, is there an online system for issues, technical issues? Just curious.
They could certainly just send us an email. Hi, Dr. Adams, it's a pleasure to meet you. I'm the president of the Harbor Media Board.
There you
And
go. Thanks for
Michelle Balconi, who is our executive director, would usually be here, but she's on vacation. So they could call us or send us an email.
Okay, so there's nothing like,
We don't
you know,
have a
ticket
complaint
numbers and all
box.
that.
No.
No, okay, that's cool. So we did get that resolved. They called Tightrope. And so John originally put it in. You haven't experienced it lately, have you? This is the buzzing noise kind of thing.
No, I've checked the channel and they have, you know, a music underneath it, although I did check it today and there was like some scary Halloween organ music that sounded very demonic over the coming up, which I thought was sort of odd, but I think it kind of auto-populates a little bit, I think, but it's better than buzz.
All right, okay. So that's it. As always, if you, just so we don't lose anything as we go between meetings, if you just, you know, put a line item in there and something that we have to address in the document that I sent you the links for, we can process it and hopefully get it resolved before the meeting so we can press on, as it were. Next up, we got, I put down the agenda, written checklist for reporting and the approved harbor media agreement with the town. I would like to, I'm thinking that our probably most pressing thing may be figuring out how we're going to get this grant thing off the ground, but I leave it to you guys what you want to attack first on the checklist. What makes more sense? And then, well, probably tangentially, I defer to John and Mike on exactly where we are with the.
Well, I know that on the grant thing, you know, it's been a little bit in Michelle's court, I think, to kind of develop it. I've had discussions with her about the recruitment of members that would be on the grant committee. We've also discussed any kind of, you know, people that we'd want to select that would add value to it and not have conflicts of interest. You know, it's difficult because if you know, appoint somebody who's a leader in a community group in Hingham, but if they're putting a proposal in it, it's somewhat of a compromise. So we have to be careful about, you know, being very upfront with the people that would be in it, you know, in terms of if they do serve, that you know, they would either have to abstain, which we don't really want. We'd like to have the vote be what it is. And so that's part of the challenge. I've reached out to a couple of people that I know. I'm waiting to hear back, working with Michelle, and I'm trying to think of some other folks. And if you guys think of any other people that you know, perhaps have an understanding of doing grant of evaluating grant proposals, that and so I think for Margaret's benefit, maybe it's best, Dave, that we sort of give her an overview of what this grant is, because I think maybe she's a little bit in a in a vacuum.
What the heck are you guys doing?
Yeah. So Margaret, one of the things that we did in the new agreement with Harbor Media that just got signed, there was some you know, excess funds that were made available to be able to give grants over the next course of 4 to 5 years on the term of the agreement. And, you know, I think we've talked about to the tune of about $130,000 or something. So it's a substantial amount of money for productions. And the idea is for citizens of Hingham to be able to make proposals for their ideas, you know, with budgets, with, you know, personnel, you know, the experience of the producers that are there, and to create programming that would be of, you know, either interest to the citizens of Hingham or creative projects as well. I don't think we're limiting ourselves. It's more, you know, what are the best ideas, and we need to have a good group of people that we're going to appoint as part of the process. The grant process is, you know, basically going to be rolled out. What I've got from Michelle Balconi so far is that her timeline is, you know, that we're going to recruit the consultants, a consultant that would help us determine how to run the grant in an appropriate way. I mean, I've sort of encouraged them to try and at best keep it as simple and easy as possible. I've sent them some links to other organizations that have done this in the past in the production community world, so that they might be able to use those as examples to work off of. But I think they feel like, because it's town money, that we have to do it the appropriate way in terms of it being an RFP and that kind of thing. So I think that that was one of the first things that we were working on. So I think sort of drafting what the production fund guidelines are going to be. Is there going to be a format made that people can fill in, where the appropriate budgets, the creative proposal that would be no more than 2 pages or whatever it would be, just an overview, top of that kind of thing. So that's something that I think Michelle was trying to develop, and hopefully we'll hear from her soon about what that is. So she wants to finalize the 3-person judges. There's 1 member from Harbor Media, and there are two from the community. So those are the folks that can get selected. And they have to be approved. They've sort of, not approved, but brought in front of us so that we can find out who they are and what value they bring, I guess. They're going to start beginning the advertising of the production grant process in September. So the RFP will go out and it'll be promoted. In November, that would be the deadline for the first grant cycle. December 30th, decision and community announcement of the grants awarded, and then so on and so forth. And then the productions would commence, based on what they need to be. So it's a real opportunity for people in the community to put together, interesting proposals that could cover the gamut, from whether it's the history of Hingham or it's creative projects of, we want to do something that would be either a documentary and perhaps even a dramatic thing if someone felt like, it should be. So I think, the committee will be open to a number, but it'll be a competitive process.
Now, I think we had in this someplace. Are we going to try to get together after we've, done all the details and whatnot, sort of a document that says, here's the process, here's how well, you've already said the timeline, but do we have some kind of document that we can post that, outlines the whole grant procedure, et cetera? Is Michelle working on that, or are you working on that, or it doesn't exist?
I think it's being developed according to what she sent, was that the timeline for that would be during July and August, that they would develop those guidelines, and I'm assuming she'll present it to us when she completes it, or give us an update on where it's going. Okay. Laura, I don't know, you probably know more about it too.
All right.
I'm just glad you have her timeline, because I have it too, but I'm not sure where. So I'm glad
we'll get someplace. Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm sure there will be a document that describes the program that we can post.
Yep.
All kinds of places.
Yep. And then
John,
I'm envisioning that on the Harbor Media website, and then we'll have we can do some co-links with the town website. Hey, I want to do, what do I do? And it'll go to a page and it'll give you the whole,
Well, and we envision a very broad, promotion program. We'll get it on the Anchor and, out on social media, try to get the word out.
Yeah, I mean, I could see, community groups being people who apply as well, and they would attach producers who they would trust to work on the project. So I think that's another thing that, needs to be considered, because I think that's a natural outcome.
Okay.
John, a question. Are students, could students apply, or teachers, educators in Hingham?
Anyone, I think,
Okay.
really. Certainly yes. I mean, Margaret, I think to a certain degree, we've talked with Harbor Media about, how we help underwrite, as you know, a person who is on staff at your place, and also we have a person at Harbor Media who's responsible for interfacing with you. So some of that programming can get done whether they win through the grant process or not. that nothing makes it so that they can't apply, but you still have other opportunity to put programming that would be of interest. And also, we've been trying as a committee to encourage the schools, and we've gone, around and around and around about getting the production classes to be able to put material on. And we now have codified it with that new agreement that there will be an expectation that certain amount of programming will be made, will be aired. So there's that as well.
Have you, Margaret, have you seen that agreement?
I have heard of the agreement. I haven't seen it. I know we're trying to set up a time to meet, to include the principal at the high school, to make sure that the staff member can meet that goal that's been set.
Yeah. I can email it to you if you wanted me to.
That'd be great. I know we're trying to set up so that all the players can be in a room and make sure that we're clear that that's the expectation, and that the teacher is aware of that expectation. 4 shows, I think it says 4 shows a month.
Yeah.
That's, I don't know what they've been doing in the past. That's quite a bit.
I
So
think it was 2.
it was 2 in the past.
No, in the past, I don't think we've really gotten any.
So it's 2 a
But-
month.
It's 2 a month.
Okay, I heard differently, so it'll help to look at it.
Yeah.
Margaret, has someone briefed you about Harbor Media in terms of the legacy, the history of what's been done, and in terms of with the schools and how much programming? Have you met with the coordinator from Harbor Media? In other words, maybe I think having sort of an overview and understand where we've been, where we're going would be helpful to you.
Yeah, we're trying to set that up, so
Okay, great.
it's in the works.
Okay.
One day at a time.
Yeah, you don't have anything on your plate, do you?
No,
Yeah.
she's just sitting around. Yeah, nothing.
Yeah, it's in the works, and it should happen within the next 2 to 3 weeks. So
Great.
it'll happen quickly.
Is there a email I should use?
It's M.Adams, ADAMS at Hingham Schools. I think it's .org,
Got it.
but
Thank you.
.com works too.
Parenthetically on history and whatever, Sky Thaxter, who was associated with the schools and actually did a lot of the work of setting up video at the schools. He actually did, before he left, he did a document on where they came from and where they were, and I'll send you that as well. I think that might be helpful as to, what's happened in the past and the kind of thing, of a historical, perspective. So
Great, thank you.
Yep. All right. Any more on the grant process? Going once, going twice. We definitely should get the timeline of the project published someplace and then into the minutes, so that when we have our meetings, we can, how are we doing? Are we, behind? What can we do better? Where are we ahead? That kind of thing. So,
Laura, do you think that there's I mean, it would be great if the committee would know a reasonable timeline for sharing with us what the RFP process would be, what it would look like, how it would be done, or a draft of it, so we can have input into that. Is there any kind of timeline that you think is reasonable and from your point of view?
So I'm just unfortunately, I'm going to have to put that back in Michelle's bucket because she's managing all of that. But if you let her know before your next meeting, she can come prepared to address that.
okay. All right. And also I kind of, this unrelated reporting that we wanted to talk about, but we'll do that with Michelle because she's the one that has the details on it. You know what I'm talking about, right, John? We had a list of things that how we're going to do reporting on various aspects of the agreement. And
You mean the checklist that we were going to talk about? Yeah. I've been working on that in terms of just questions that I have on that, but I think we really need to have Michelle involved in that.
Okay.
Because it's, she wrote the original responses, and I'm just asking for some clarifications and some that kind of thing.
Okay, we can do that. More for Margaret. Margaret, you're able to get to the documents and everything, all the links are working and access as far as you, have you clicked any of them, I guess, is, you know.
I've clicked on the ones on the emails that you've sent.
You got to those, okay?
Yes.
All right. So.
Hey, Margaret, have you, in your previous places, what experience do you have working with cable access media or creating media classes and things like that? Or, in other words, doing, what's your vision about, the usage of digital media and including that in the curriculum for the kids?
We had a phenomenal video production teacher who created a lot of programming, but with students. So it was very student-led, and students were creating programming, both that was particularly to the high school and then going out into the community. And I don't know, to what extent we're videotaping like athletic events and concerts, but the students would do all of that work. That was part of their work. Some of them, it was part of their assignments for the class, and some were also doing it. We had a community service requirement. So they were doing it as part of that portion of that requirement. So a lot of student-driven programming that allowed the community to connect with kids and what was going on at the high school, mostly at the high school level.
That's great. I know that Harbor Media, and you'll find this out, has capability of doing training for the kids on the camera gear. They can take editing classes. There's a number of programs that Harbor Media has done in the past year with Erin that you'll find out about. But I think more importantly, there's not really that big an impediment for the students to be able to use gear and equipment and lights and things of that nature, things that you might not have as part of, like you don't have in your at the school. Again, they might have like more rudimentary equipment, but that they can turn to Harbor Media to be able to do that, and also, be mentored by some of the staff there that would be able to help them if they got into any kinds of things where, well, I'm not sure quite how to do this, or I need to find a cameraman. Is there anything you can tell us about that? Or I need to know how to work that, whatever it might be. I think that they could be a tremendous assistance to the successful production.
Does the high school have a studio? Or I don't know.
No.
No studio.
All right. And Harbor Media does.
Yep.
Big time.
Which has been used by the student, which has been used by the students from time to time.
Yeah.
But the middle school does the middle school have a?
Yeah, middle school has
Yes.
a studio, yeah.
Yes.
Which of course the high school kids could probably use if they had a production.
Yes.
All right. I don't think we don't have any more. If Laura wants to get to the, I think we're done with Harbor Media. If you want to tune in, you can get the pre-hearing.
Yeah. Okay, well, I will leave you to Bill Solomon's tender mercies, and thank you very much.
Not a problem.
Thanks,
Thanks, Laura.
Bye, Laura. Have a good summer.
All right, next on the agenda, we have Bill Solomon. Hey, Bill.
Oh, excuse me. Can I'm sorry, I forgot. And of course, Laura just left. I forgot to.
What?
I need to give an update. I had a discussion with Tom Mayo today
Okay.
about the bylaws.
Oh.
And so just a quick update, nothing much, but it's just that he's responding to Laura in terms of they've had a board meeting. They have pulled the trigger on the 60 days to go towards the meeting that they're having, their annual meeting in October, where they can codify the bylaws as they exist right now, the original draft. Yep. Tom is going to get back to Laura with some suggestions and concerns about some of the points that are out there.
Okay.
And so that's kind of where it stands right now. It's still in process. The bylaws are not passed, and Tom wants some modifications.
Okay. Okay. Now,
which will be negotiated.
Is there anything I assume there isn't. Is there anything that they need from the Cable Advisory Committee?
We, Michael and I have worked together to provide that to Tom.
Okay. All right. Cool. Thanks. All right, Mr. Solomon, Bill Solomon. We have
Okay,
a draft of the agreement with Verizon.
Yeah,
Quick
I
question.
was just-
How come some of it's capitalized and some of it isn't? What's up with that? Or is that
I
just?
don't know what we capitalized.
I don't know.
So I just want to walk through, and by Michael, I apologize. I still owe you the document from the last meeting and Article 6, and I'll get it.
Yeah,
apologize
I mean,
for
that
getting
ship
it.
is sailed.
Okay, it's just well, it always was relevant to just checking the box. But, so I just want to go over this and then leave it with you. I just want to the overviews again. And then you go over it, I'll go over it again. Now, what I've been doing is because, as I mentioned, they had a new team that made a lot of little changes, not the big paradigm issues, but the little changes. I wanted to do what I did originally in Wareham for a year and a half with the Hingham license, is kind of get some standardization, partly because that's what they want. And without that, it just takes longer. And I didn't want them to make changes, even if they weren't the bigger issues, without making tweaks that I thought were helpful or needed, or maybe tweak one or two things I would not have touched if they had an open Pandora's box. So I'm going to take what I sent you, because I'm doing like 8 at one time, and I'm electronically comparing them and looking at, because if you've ever had like similar documents, there's always little differences, and it's not that they matter. If you decide it doesn't matter, like in a Comcast license, it doesn't matter. But if one party thinks it matters, then both parties have to try to figure out how do they use the standardization to benefit the document that on the points that matter to them. So with that, let me share the screen. Oh, let me share. You can figure that out again. Share the
Hold
screen.
on a second. Hold on a minute. Yeah, let's see. Screen sharing. Yeah, you should be able to do it.
Okay, yeah. I'll also, where did it go here? Let's see. I did the number crunching, but I'm going to put it on paper for when we meet next time. But they want to do the license first. And that, I think that makes sense for us too, in some ways.
Bill,
It's
Bill,
open,
before we start, I just want to get a quick overview from you. Is this draft something that you've drafted, or that you've drafted in conjunction with the Verizon?
I did.
Or tell me, give us an overview of like.
Yeah,
where are
I
we in the
drafted it
process?
based on where they and to some extent myself, but I drafted it based on my standard, my lead license as modified by them, that I've now remodified little things. And so, but they have not seen this. But they've seen similar for a few towns already. Because when they first changed their license about 5 months ago, they weren't trying to change these little things, but then they started to do it. So I'm trying to, and I talked to John Harrington today, who's one of the attorneys along with Paul Train. Paul Train will handle Hingham, about trying to, my standardizing it to their standardizing it, so we can get it past Verizon without holding things up. But so they've seen this before in different versions, but not exactly. So I want to do the overview.
Have they passed something similar to this in other towns?
Yes, because it's not that different from my last license that goes back to Wareham and Hingham, 3.5 years ago.
Okay.
But there's so many provisions. There's so many little, each section I not only electronically compare to see, all right, what do I want to do? There must be 150 little tweaks, because that's the nature of a larger document where attorneys involved, and they care about, and something I care about, some of the more nuanced issues that sort of matter on its own terms, even if not in the bigger picture. So I'm just going to take you through again to what gross revenue is for substantive purposes the same as before, a broad definition. But at one point, we used to have things like pay-per-view and another one like the pay-per-view and another category. But I took that out a long, long time ago because they were fighting digital, saying digital cable. And I didn't like this. This definition is based on the idea that of the Cable Act, that it's all revenue from the operation of the cable system to provide cable service in the town. That's the principle. That's the Cable Act provision, and that's the key. But then the towns eventually wanted to have some delineation because there are places cable companies might not have paid things, and they say including without limitation, the following. But I took things like pay-per-view and another one out because I didn't like having that in there without having the reference to like digital cable, whatever that means, that is in the Comcast license. Meaning I didn't want too many things delineated because then the absence of something else might look meaningful. So by not describing everything that's included in revenue from the operation of the cable system by cable service, I thought my towns were better. So I've retained that this time.
Bill, can I stop you? Can I stop you 1 second?
Yeah.
Margaret, because you're new to this, I just want to give you the overview as well. We have contracts with 2 cable providers, Comcast and Verizon, and we just negotiated our contract with Comcast for 10 years, and we're doing one right now for Verizon. That's why Bill is going through this next round. I didn't know if anybody briefed you on that or not.
Thank you, John.
And remember, folks, that our license, as well as other towns that represent, does not have what most licenses have. Most licenses say in the PEG access support section that with respect to cable, to bundled services, bundling cable, internet, and telephone, with respect to bundled services, the cable portion is as set out on the books of Verizon and subject subject to applicable law. Well, there's no applicable law regulation on that. And there's now the gap rule, which I'll get into, but to say that what portion of the bundle is cable is based on how they keep their books, opens the town up to losing 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60% of their money. Because nowadays the competition is for video. There's not really great competition for an internet provider. So in the old days, the company would say, well, the bill's $100 and 60 or 65 are cable. But now there's an incentive to say, well, the bill's $150 and $100 is internet, and just pay 25 for cable and 25 for internet, because they don't have the competition is Netflix and Hulu and things like Apple and Google, and so therefore they have an incentive to claim that a larger portion of the bundle is internet and not cable. If they do that, if you say in your license that the cable portion of the bundle is decided based on how they keep their books, you're letting them decide how much is cable. That could decimate your definition of gross revenue, which is what your 4.75 or whatever percent, 85% goes against. So we, in our license, like last time, we reference GAAP, which now has a rule that says you look at the individual prices. And at the end, we have this sentence that says, if cable services are provided to subscribers in conjunction with non-cable services, nothing herein shall prevent the licensee from allocating a greater amount of the combined revenue to cable service than is otherwise provided pursuant to GAAP. So what that just means is when I negotiated with Verizon, Joe Reddish, who was a government affairs person back then, said, we, Verizon, give a town more money than GAAP would require. So I said, okay, I added a provision that says nothing stops you from giving us more money. So that's a crucial provision, because I'd say, other than maybe two licenses in the Commonwealth, other than my licenses are the only ones that address this. Everyone else agrees that they can determine what portion of the cable, what portion of the bundle is cable, and that's you really put yourself at risk. All right, the rest of it has little tweaks, but I'm going into it. The 3-year out time is the term that take a look at section 2.4. That's starting with director, which I did. They want a 3-year termination. So at the end of no sooner than the 31st month, they can give you 6 months notice. Now, I have one town, Winchester, where there's a concern about, if it's 6 months notice, by the time Comcast or Verizon subscribers start to clue in, if they decide they want a traditional cable company, not what the video that Verizon's providing, Comcast couldn't hook everyone up in time. So in the one town, we went with 200, instead of no sooner than the 31st month, no sooner than the 27th month. But the notice is 270 days and not 180 days. You follow that?
I think we had talked about that the last meeting.
Yeah.
And I think we all expressed concern that 6 months isn't a lot of time.
Yeah. Thank you for, and that's, I made the note here without changing. Thank you. So, all right. So then the modification, I won't get into important legalese stuff, but I need not do it. Cable service to public buildings. They have a provision that makes very little sense. Well, let me. And you tell me here if it makes a difference. So as you know, under the FCC's in-kind consideration rule, they can now take the cost for providing cable service to public buildings and count it as toward the franchise fee. So if that brings you over 5%, they could deduct the cost of cable service to public buildings or the cost of video return, operating and maintenance. They could deduct that from the 5%. Now we're at, what is it, 4.85%, Dave, right?
Yeah,
Yes.
that's correct.
So here's Sudbury, and this is their Verizon Provision. Now, what makes no sense here is they say if there's a final determination or ruling of an agency or court that reverses the in-kind consideration order, then if it's no longer subject to appeal, the licensee shall provide one cable drop, outlet, and monthly basic service at no cost. So the FCC's order doesn't say they can charge us. It just says it counts toward the franchise fee, and that could have an effect that they could give you less franchise fee because it's a 5% cap. So there's really no reason anyone has to wait for that rule to be undone, particularly if if you're at 5% of gross revenues, it's fine, who cares? Because 5% of gross revenues, town like Sudbury, no one gets Verizon cable service. They don't care. But in Hingham, we're at 4.85. So if they provided cable service to public buildings, it likely would, since they can only charge you, they can only count the marginal cost, not the market cost that the FCC wanted, the marginal cost for their cost of getting the service. It's unlikely to take you above 5%. So the question then, unlike in the other towns, and Verizon's been successful with this, the question in Hingham is, do we care about, we talked about this before a little, do we care about cable service to public buildings? Now, one reason I like not to take it out is if you take it, now in Comcast licenses, it's often out, but same thing there. When I have a town below 5%, oftentimes now I try to keep it in. So that if you took it out of, if you have this language that they only have to provide cable service if the FCC rule is undone, well, the Comcast could see that when we renew with Comcast and say, well, they don't want to provide cable service till they're done. So I think for us, I don't think we should propose that. What we end up with, we'll see. And what I do instead is I say that the foregoing shall be subject as applicable to the in-kind consideration order, as such order may be in effect or amended. So I'm saying, yeah, if you could implement that in-kind consideration order, and you can count the marginal cost of cable service to public buildings for the franchise fee, go ahead, because you're probably not going to take us over 5% anyway. So that's what I have for him.
I mean, are the public buildings mostly wired by Comcast? Any of the drops? Are the schools that have cable? Do you know if it's Comcast or Verizon that service?
It's almost certainly just Comcast.
Yeah,
Right. So there you go.
yeah.
So, but I still like it in there because I don't like to get rid of it, because then Comcast could say,
I'd leave it in. I'd leave it in.
okay. Okay, Peg, we already have, so we have four channels now. We keep that. I kept in that you can give them 180 days notice, and you can change which one has HD. You can only do that once. That's what we had in our original license, and I kept that flexibility here. So if you want to change, you can. We're keeping the video return from the, we had it from the town hall and the studio, and those are both used. Is that correct? They still pick up there? That's what they use, but they still pick up at the town hall and studio. Is that correct?
Yep.
So I kept that in. Peg, I'm going to give you, when we meet next time, we crunch the numbers, but I'm going to crunch it on paper and give you the paper version of what I think we should ask for. Now, last time, it was a 0.5% of gross revenue, and that was a large amount. We talked about this before. Here's the challenge. Let me put up the existing Hingham license. Here's the challenge. We got paid as much by Verizon in 5 years as like we got from Comcast in 10. So they're going to want to do something about that going forward a little bit. So, and that was committee's decision, which is fine. So with the Verizon,
Bill, why are you confident that they wouldn't accept it based on the fact that they get the 3-year out? It seems to me that they should be paying a premium anyway because of the flexibility we're giving them on the reduced contract, and they're, personally.
well, here's the issue. So let me go, I'm going to here to the existing license. I have a sheet that did, I showed you last time again, that did the numbers, what it turned out to be. So I think it was like 39, it was like $40,000, the 0.5%, if I remember correctly. I have it on a sheet.
So the half percent bill, it's typically around $5,000 a quarter,
Okay,
right? And then there's was it the 19,000?
Yeah.
So it's probably like around 49,000 or so.
yeah, that number seems to. So here's the issue. The Comcast, and I have a sheet, I did this all in a sheet before,
That would be 39 if you're taking the 19 and the 20.
Oh, I'm sorry, 39.
39.
Yep, thanks, John.
Iron Man.
Sorry, Margaret. We all went to high school, I think, particularly the accountants in here.
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
Yeah.
From the CPA of the committee.
Yeah, the arithmetic is about as far as I go. But
But, I agree what John said, I mean, last time, one of the reasons why we got more capital money was because they wanted a 5-year contract rather than a 10. And now this time, we're giving them a 5-year with an out, a 3-year
yeah,
out.
let me just put up the Comcast. Yeah, 1 second. I had this.
I mean,
So,
Bill, does this go to the heart of the fact that Verizon wants to know that they're not paying more than Comcast? And that's the
well,
bottom
as I
line?
say, they need to pay more, a premium, because if we're going to give them, as I
Right.
said, the 3-year out, that's my position. I don't beg for more money. I say, look, no, we don't do, no city, town does a contract with 5 years, we're committed, 3 years, you're committed. That's a special privilege. You don't want it to save money from us. You want it because you want the flexibility to get out, save programming costs and customer service. You're going to save billions. And you want us to say, to your credit, you don't want to just say you can leave at any time, that you understand it's an agreement, not just a license for you to operate. So that, let me just find this here.
So Comcast pays us 25,000 a year for capital.
I mean, Bill, I mean, to me, it's like, if I was a Verizon customer in Hingham, I'd be pretty ticked off if these people pull the plug like they're talking about doing on my service after I've given them all of that money and everything. There should be a penalty.
Yeah,
for
no,
withdrawing,
like I said,
because we've given them the privilege
agreeing.
to be here, and if they want to like save their money, then we should
What I
hold
tell
their
them, if
feet
they
to the
don't
fire.
want to do that, then we can't give them this special privilege. So as you said, it was indicated there, Michael, 25,000 a year. So, and the other one came to, you thought at this point, I think I did the numbers on another page, but, so you came to how much, was it 39,000, 40,000 a year, or the 0.5% came to how much?
Yeah, it was 5,000 a quarter plus 19.
It's about $5,000 a quarter.
Okay, all right, so, right.
So, Bill, whenever you
20,000,
whenever you share a document like this, I have to include it in the minutes.
That's okay, I'll
Right.
give it to you. I'll send it to you tonight, yeah.
Right, because last time you didn't.
Yeah, no, I'll do it now. No, the last time it was the license part of it, not the, but anyway, I'll give it to you. I'll send it to you before I leave. So the issue becomes, in the world where they have a 3-year out, the methodology of a 0.5% to 19,000 doesn't work, because a 0.5% can't apply to 2 years that don't happen.
Yeah, no, I think we totally agree with
We went
John.
over that.
So,
And so the
yeah.
challenge becomes, every license I've done, we talked about this last time, I've done a set dollar amount, but I now have negotiated one license that has a license for Verizon that has a percentage. Because remember, if the Verizon people leave, those Verizon people go to Comcast. I don't see any methodology where we can do a percentage of gross revenue, as I think we discussed, because it would have to be a termination fee that they'd never go with. So one thing to pay you more upfront, another to say you're leaving, you got to pay us money. So it's a set dollar amount, and I haven't had time, but I will crunch the numbers and give you what I think that is. Because I mean, if you took the set dollar amount, and if it's been going down, I'm sure, but if it's, let's say it's 38,000 a year, okay? 38,000 a year, and Comcast is paying 25, that's too much of a premium. They're not going to do it. Now, that doesn't mean we have to give them the 5 and 3, but that's a big premium. If it's 13,000 over 25,000, right? Is that 50% more, right? So 25,000 times 150%, 37.5. So about it's a little over 50% more. Now, could we, typically, let me give you some numbers. Could they pay up to $1 per subscriber? And let's go to their subs. We went to their subs. They are now at the end of 2021. I've done the sheet, but they are 2,680.
So I think we get like 50 cents a subscriber once a year. It's a real small dollar amount.
So 2,680 times just $1 in their viewer things times, oh, is it, that's just right, right, 2,680, yeah. That's small. That's a month, that's a month. I'm sorry, that's a, that's for the whole time. That's 5. So let me just take a second on that, 1 second.
Well, and I think you know our position, Bill, and.
No, we're trying to figure it out. Yes,
and
money is
so
good. We
Maybe,
agree.
maybe you need to come back to the committee.
No, but I'm just, I got you, but I want to talk it out together because it's, we can all, it won't take too long, but 2,680 subs, and yeah, it'd be at $1. I'd see they do $1 a month. That's right. I think they, let me take 1 second on that. Yeah, a month, yeah. 80. So if it was $1 a month, that'd be 32,160. If you did that times out of interest, out of it would be 321,600. Okay, and divided by 260. Yeah, 120 per subscriber. So 32,000. So, I think, people negotiate differently. I'm successful at this, and part of it is I don't come in with a stupid number because it gets them disengaged. And so the question is where to come in. If we came in about 35,000, and again, none of it really seems like it's worth not having the 3 years. The question is, where do you get if you don't agree with that, because they're just going to want to stall, and it's in our interest to get a license done, particularly if the Cable Act is undone. At 35,000, a year divided by, again, 360. That's one more time, 35,000.
And Bill, did you want them to pay this for the 3-year term all up front? In other words, like we did
No, they'll pay it in 3 years.
installments, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Because I know that was some clause we did before once.
Okay, so at 35,000, it's $1.09 per month. And it's 10,000 over 25. So 25,000. All right, I think 35,000 is a good number. There are times they talk about $1 a month. It's 40% more, if I have that right. The question is they wouldn't normally want to pay more than like 15 or 20. I've got more than that. So let me throw that out, the 35,000 a year.
Okay.
Well, I think your rationale of $1 per sub, is eminently reasonable, and point of view of they're gonna terminate early, they want a 3-year term. This is the deal. We want $1 per, that's it. And just hammer home to them, we're not negotiating that. That's what it is. I mean, that's what I would say. Because
And that,
I don't care if they did 15 in another town or not. It's not germane to the fact that they want to disrupt our town with having the option to pull out.
the beauty of the way it negotiated is, like I said, I don't fight about it or whine. I say, look, if that doesn't work, then we can't give you the 3-year out.
Right.
Now,
Exactly.
you might be saying, now, see, the problem is they may want to get out in 3 years. If 2 years ago, when you did this, there was no chance they were going to get out in 3 years. Their eyes were bigger than the stomach. Corporate presidents and others, executives say, you got to do this. So then they didn't want a 3-year license because they knew they'd have to come back. Right, a 3-year license, in theory, you start the renewal process right away. So if there was zero chance that they would get out in 3 years, when you said, well, then do a 3-year license, they didn't want that. We may be getting closer to the place where they would say, yeah, we'll do a 3-year license, but they still then would have to, renew if they weren't there. So that's the leverage. It's like, fine, you want something special. It's great benefit to you. The billions of dollars, across all your systems, but we can't give it to you. And because we're not representing the public. Because as they say, are you telling the public that you're going to be out of here in 3 years? Are you putting articles in the paper? Are you sending notices? I don't think so. You want us to say it's okay. And then your customer service people say, well, the town said we could do it. All right, so $35,000.
Bill, can I ask you one thing? Is there a possibility of putting a clause in here that says that if they do not pull the trigger to get out within that time frame, that the next license would be an automatic renewal? Like we get an option to renew this, like you would in baseball, I suppose, where it's your 3rd-year option, and if you don't exercise it by the 2nd year, then you got to go for the whole contract. In other words, is there a way in which we could get them to simplify this? Because I don't know whether that puts more or less pressure on them to want to pull out or not.
Well, let's say it's an interesting idea, but let's say you were to say that if you don't get out, then we're extending the license for 2 years under the same term.
Right.
You could do that in this document,
Yeah.
but they're so geared to, they need to be able to get it. They're told they can't commit. In other states, they do 3-year, like Pennsylvania, 3-year license. So there's, I think, zero chance they would agree to something that extended beyond the 5.
Yeah.
I'll give you one example. I had a town where I got a lot of money from Verizon. Way more than all the towns around. And then Comcast license was up like 2 months later, 3 months later. And the chair was a big negotiator, and he's retired, but no, he still works as an expert with us, a big negotiator on things and big deals. So it felt like, all right, I'll let him do it. I gave him the number that he don't get less than X dollars from Comcast. And the Comcast guy is kind of impossible. So I said, all right, when to do it? And, I'll do the rest of the license, but you can negotiate the number if you like. So he does a deal and he comes in like below the number I said was the minimum. And he wasn't sure, and then he did. So he felt he made a deal. So Comcast paid more Verizon paid more in 5 years under my license than Comcast paid in 10 years. And that was also always my rule of thumb. You can't have Comcast paying more in 10 years than Verizon does in 5. So lo and behold, he made another mistake. Nice guy, but he sent the license to the DTC. No one ever sends these licenses. And sometimes, and Verizon saw it, and they basically said, unless you redo it, then we're going to proceed under our rights, which they didn't have many rights. They could just get a 3-year out into what I write. But anyway, long story short, I insisted that the town don't pay these, don't reduce the amount, don't do that. So what I did was, I wrote up an agreement and got it done with Verizon that said, and Verizon did it, but I had to convince that they didn't have to pay something like the 3rd payment. It was 3 payments. The 3rd payment they didn't have to make, whatever that amount was, $30,000, $40,000. But if they renewed the license that they had to pay that payment 18 months later, no matter what so it gave them a chance on the renewal. They could fight for whatever they want in capital, but we weren't going to give you money back. So the idea you sort of said, John, you kind of extending something into the next term. But here, I can't really think of something that they would want to go with, even though I agree with you, it's a good idea. And the only other question is, would it pay to raise something like that? But the idea of saying if they extend, the idea of extending it for an additional 2 years. I guess the question is, if you want to raise that in order to, you like it and you want to talk about it and show that it's just not one side that comes up with what they want, the other side can do it too. I think that's fine. If you think you could back off of it. It's the type of thing I don't mind backing off of because it's creative thinking. It doesn't look like you're a wimp.
Well, I mean, I do think the flip side of that strategy, unfortunately, is that it gives them incentive to want to pull out because they don't want to be beholden to another 2 years.
That's true too. Yeah.
So
All right, so let's move on from it.
It might not. I just don't know whether. I mean, do we really think that they're going to pull out in 3 years? I mean, really. I mean, practically speaking.
I don't think they're gonna. No.
Yeah. I think they want to. I don't think they will.
I mean,
it's what I call it.
They wanted to last time as well, but it's like I'm sure they like the subscriber money.
Yeah,
it's not going down. It's still a business. It's still a good business.
We're adding subscribers for crying out loud.
And I also ask myself, how much money are they getting from the Netflixes and the Hulus of the world to put their link on their networks? They're getting some kind of kickback. I don't think they're getting it free. It's not just a convenience for people because they don't want to, they wouldn't do it unless they were getting some kind of funding. We don't see any of that money.
Well, you see, the one thing we could take a look at, Comcast, as I understand it, for now, includes that money in the revenue because they're not denying its cable service. Verizon, we'd have to take a look.
Verizon doesn't do it that way?
I don't know. I've looked at Comcast, but I haven't looked.
I mean, because that's where everything's going. I mean, people have 8, Disney, everything else. And if they're getting a certain amount of money, I mean, even though I know that I'm paying as a member to Disney to have their thing directly, it still is something where it's a revenue boost because Comcast is doing it because they don't want to lose to the cord cutters. So they're doing it for a particular reason. Because they don't want YouTube TV to come in and make it easy for people. They want it to be easy on their place as well, and there's revenue there.
Yeah. Okay. Well, there's a lot of legalese here. There's no need to go into. You can review this and then read it, and then if the next meeting any questions raised, customer service. We used to have an attachment that was like 8 pages. They got away from that. They just apply the FCC rules. Other than they get rid of the customer service office. Reasonably convenient provision, but we didn't have that to begin with. Let me take a look at one thing on your existing license. I just want to take a look at the customer service provision 1 second. Okay, let me put this up. All right, what I have in your existing license, I was able to get it. A lot of licenses don't have it, some do. I have this bill payment. The licensee shall have a location convenient to the town that should be open during normal business hours to make bill payments. And then for subscriber pickup, they can have that, or they can do these other things. So they hate this. And in their new customer service provision, this would not be there. So talk to me about whether this matters or not. Seniors sometimes, but I don't know. I don't know. It matters more in a place where there's more poverty and people have to pay in person in order not to have the service shut off.
I'm willing to let it go.
I mean, Is there a way we can tell if anybody is using it?
I don't even know where it is. We'd have to find out if they even comply. So why don't we do that? Why don't we ask, I'll ask that they tell us where that is. And let's see if they're in compliance.
Okay.
And then,
All right.
but then if everyone agrees, we're willing to give it up
I'm willing to
grudgingly.
give it up.
Yeah, grudgingly, but nothing gets given up for nothing,
No, but ask them where, where is it? And they'll say, oopsie, and then we'll say, well, that's a problem. And then, yeah.
Right. Yep, I'll do that. Let me make a note.
Okay. That it?
I just need to okay, I'll make a note here, of bill paying.
Okay.
All right, so then, for purpose, there's a ton of things I can't, a million provisions. If I show it to the markup, I may show you the compare doc. When I send it to you, again, I'll do a
Yeah.
compare doc so you can compare it to the last one. Sometimes the things in different order,
Okay.
but I'll do, so you can see that there's a lot of legalese in here, but there's nothing else I think I need to. There's an insurance issue, but that's okay. I've checked on with most towns. Yeah, so that's it. So what I owe you, I'm going to update the license.
Yep.
Not update, but review it again. I've gone over it carefully, but one more review and update. I compare a doc with the last one. Find out about the bill payments. Do a sheet on their number crunch. Well, we did the number crunching.
Yeah, we did that.
I think we're okay now. We don't need a sheet
Yep.
on it.
Yeah.
$35,000. All right, and Michael, it is a lot easier to do it together. I do a lot of these, and I can do it on my own, but it helps to go over the bigger issues and particularly even the number crunching there, just to do it together so we can all put our heads together.
And
Thank you.
don't forget,
The other thing is the extension going from 180 days to 270.
Oh, yeah,
Right.
and I have that in my notes, yes, but I think I put that in the document. In fact, I have it there, but I'll make it in the body. 180, 270. And if you hold a second, I'm going to send you this document now that I went over. There's no nuclear secret there. So you have it for the minutes.
okay, excellent. We're getting there. And as I can glean, the magic date for this thing to be signed off on is April 2023, correct?
Well, we want to do it before that. That what I want to do is I want to send it to them, and if we meet in August, depends if the Murray, whatever. After the next meeting, I want to send it to Paul Crane.
Okay, all right, cool. But I'm
So
saying the
I
ultimate
didn't-
goal though is we sign off with the select board and everything in April, right?
Well, no, the ultimate goal is to do it sooner if we could.
Okay,
Um,
that's fine with me.
Because, but at least what's good, well, we'll see what happens in Congress. But like I said, if there was full one-party government, they would get rid of the Cable Act.
Okay.
But that's before 24. All
That's
right,
fine.
so good. So let me, I'm gonna send this to you now, Michael, when I get off here. I'll send to everyone that sheet. And what about a meeting? I didn't bring my calendar here. When do we want to meet again? Want to do it in?
I want
beginning
to
of September?
defer on sending it because I wanted to make sure that we had John Lawler involved. So I'll do
Okay.
it. I can set up an agenda through email.
Yeah, well, let's
you know.
do it at I can do it the first or second week in September or something,
Yeah, that makes sense. I'll shoot
Okay.
to that.
Good.
Okay. All right.
Okay, well, thank you all. I'll send this document right now.
Attaboy, Bill. Thanks.
Thank you, Dave. Bye-bye.
All righty. We're all anxious to see the hearing, so do I hear a motion to adjourn?
I motion to adjourn the meeting. Do we need to set a date though for the next one or?
No, we do, but we don't, I'd rather have John Lawler involved, you know.
Weigh in. All right, yeah, we should find out, I mean, because Michelle's gonna be involved in it, we gotta find out what her schedule is.
That's right. So
Okay.
open meeting law, you can do agenda setting, you know, offline, but nothing
okay.
else. Okay.
And then Margaret, you know, she won't have anything to do by August, so.
Yeah.
she'll be
Nothing.
hopefully free.
Not a thing. What could possibly be happening?
No building project, no
Yeah,
school, no
yeah.
school openings.
Nothing,
Nothing.
you know, big deal. All right.
So I'll
move to
second.
adjourn.
I'll second.
All right, all those in favor? John
Aye.
Rice.
Aye.
Mike,
Aye.
Dave Jones, aye, all right.